Picture a cold September dawn in 1297. Mist drifts across the Scottish lowlands, curling through marsh and meadow like ghostly fingers. The River Forth winds its slow, treacherous course through the land, deep and unforgiving. At Stirling, a single wooden bridge spans the water, just wide enough for two men to march side by side. A simple bridge, yet more than timber and rope. It is the artery of the kingdom. Control it, and you control Scotland. High above the river, on the wind-swept heights of Abbey Craig, William Wallace stands, not a knight in polished armor, but a man with fire in his eyes. Around him, his army waits. Farmers, craftsmen, minor nobles, men hardened by hardship, sharpened by loss, bound together by a single purpose: freedom. They grip their spears, silent, watching the enemy below. Every eye traces the slow movement of English banners on the far bank, every heartbeat in sync with the approaching danger. Across the river, the English army gathers with a confidence born of routine and arrogance. Led by John de Warenne, Earl of Surrey, and Hugh de Cressingham, the royal treasurer, it is a force of thousands: infantry, heavy cavalry, knights in gleaming armor, banners fluttering like promises of conquest. They have faced rebels before. They expect the Scots to crumble. Numbers and steel, they believe, will win the day. And then the crossing begins. Foot soldiers file onto the bridge. Knights follow, boots thudding against the timber. The column grinds forward, inch by inch. The river churns beneath them, dark and unyielding. Time drags, and Wallace watches, patient as a predator. When enough men have reached the far bank, he gives the signal. The Scots surge forward, spears lock together, forming dense, immovable formations. Schiltrons bristle outward like living walls. The English vanguard is struck before it can deploy. Cavalry charges collide with the steel of steadfast spears. Infantry is pressed toward the river, trapped between wood and spear, confusion rippling through their ranks. Panic spreads faster than any command can be shouted. Behind them, more English troops press onto the bridge, oblivious to the disaster waiting ahead. Timber groans under the weight of men and horses. Cracks splinter the planks. Screams tear across the morning air as men fall into the river, dragged down by their own armor. Shields, spears, and bodies churn in the Forth, a dark, relentless tide of death. Hugh de Cressingham is struck down, pierced by Scottish spears. The bridge collapses entirely. What should have been a routine advance becomes a catastrophic rout. England's numerical advantage is rendered powerless. Discipline falters. Fear spreads. Victory slips from their grasp like sand through fingers. And all the while, Wallace stands above it, unwavering. Not for glory, not for wealth, but for the dream of a free Scotland. Each wave of English soldiers that falls, each shield that is cast into the river, strengthens a cause that will echo far beyond this misty dawn. By midday, the field is eerily silent. Only the river moves, carrying away the dead, the broken, the shattered banners. The air smells of mud, sweat, and smoke. Scotland is no longer the same. A rebellion has taken root, and William Wallace has become more than a man. He becomes a symbol, a beacon for freedom, a rallying cry that will endure through generations. This is the Battle of Stirling Bridge. Not a contest of brute force, but of timing, terrain, and iron discipline. A narrow crossing turned England's greatest strength into its deadliest weakness. A smaller army, armed with courage and resolve, shattered a larger one. And on this mist-soaked morning, the dream of Scottish liberty took took its first thunderous step into history. Part 1. Setup: Scotland's rebellion and the English invasion. Return to the 1290s. Scotland is a kingdom without an anchor. King Alexander III is dead. His heirs are gone. The throne stands empty, and with it collapses any illusion of stability. Chaos fills the land. Into this vacuum steps Edward I of England, feared across the British Isles as the Hammer of the Scots. Under the guise of arbitration, Edward asserts his dominance. Scottish nobles are forced to swear fealty. The kingdom becomes a vassal state in everything but name. Occupation follows. English garrisons take key towns. Sheriffs enforce foreign rule. Resistance simmers, quietly at first, then boldly. From that pressure emerges William Wallace, son of a minor knight, educated, mobile, and increasingly radicalized by English brutality. In 1297, Wallace strikes openly. He kills the English sheriff of Lanark. Not an isolated act, a signal, a spark. In the north, Andrew Moray launches a parallel uprising, dismantling English authority along the Moray Firth. Two uprisings, once separate, begin to converge. Edward responds with force. Command is given to John de Warenne, Earl of Surrey, a seasoned veteran. His task? Restore order. He marches north with a professional army designed to crush resistance. Around 300 armored cavalry, 9,000 to 10,000 infantry, and contingents of Welsh archers move as a single, disciplined host. Numbers, training, and steel, the tools of Edward's domination. The Scots cannot match them in strength. Wallace and Moray command perhaps 180 horse and 5,000 to 6,000 foot soldiers, mostly farmers and townsmen. Spears are their weapons. Discipline is their shield. Victory will not come from brute force. It must come from position, from cunning, from terrain. Surrey advances toward Stirling, the strategic gateway between the lowlands and the highlands. Control Stirling, and you control Scotland's interior. But the route funnels him toward a single crossing, a narrow wooden bridge spanning a loop of the River Forth, flanked by marshland and rising ground. Wallace sees it immediately. Surrey does not. From the high ground near Abbey Craig, the Scots can observe every movement. The river constrains the enemy. The marshes trap the flanks. Cavalry, the backbone of England's armies, will be useless once committed across the bridge. Yet Surrey delays. He dismisses the Scots as undisciplined, bare-legged wretches. Negotiation is attempted. Time is wasted. Confidence hardens into complacency. The battlefield is chosen. By accident, by arrogance, by inattention. The terrain favors the outnumbered. The English advance, unaware that their greatest strength has been turned against them. The trap is set. Next comes the crossing, the moment when patience, terrain, and discipline will collide in violence along the banks of the Forth. Part 2. The Narrow Crossing Trap. A Fatal Bottleneck. September 11th, 1297. Dawn breaks under a low ceiling of fog. The English army camps on the south bank of the River Forth. Tents and banners blur in the mist, muted and ghostly. Ahead lies the crossing. A wooden bridge, weathered and narrow, barely wide enough for 2 horses side by side, or 4 men shoulder to shoulder. It is the only way forward. The river bends sharply here, forming a natural loop. To cross is to funnel into a confined pocket of ground. Water presses on one side, marshland on the other. Movement slows. Formation becomes impossible. Withdrawal would be chaos. Surrey hesitates. Scouts are sent forward. Time drags, stretching like the fog across the river. Impatience breaks the pause. Hugh de Cressingham, Edward's treasurer and the most hated symbol of English rule in Scotland, presses for action. Delay, he argues, costs the king money. The Scots will not stand. The order to advance is given. By late morning, around 11 o'clock, the English vanguard begins to cross. Infantry lead the way, followed by armored knights under Cressingham's direction. The bridge creaks under the weight of men, horses, and iron. The column stretches thin, vulnerable. Above them, Wallace stands on the high ground, unmoving. He does not strike at the first man across, nor the 100th. He waits, patient, calculating. Only when the bridge has done its work, when 2,000 to 3,000 English troops have reached the north bank, cut off from the main body, does Wallace give the signal. The Scots surge downhill in a coordinated rush. The English vanguard is trapped inside the river's bend. Behind them, the bridge is clogged with reinforcements, unable to deploy or retreat. To either flank lie marshes and soft ground, useless for cavalry. The river presses in close, cold and unforgiving. Panic spreads faster than any command. Soldiers stumble, shove, fall, and struggle. Surrey watches from the southern bank as reality dawns. His army is split. He orders the bridge destroyed. Too late. Those already across are sealed inside the trap. This is the genius of Stirling Bridge. Numbers become a liability. The narrow span prevents mutual support, isolates the vanguard, and compresses men into killing ground. And now, with escape impossible, the true weapon of the Scots is ready. Dense spear formations, bristling and immovable, poised to tear the trapped English host apart. Next comes the clash of formations, the spear walls that will decide the fate of an army. Part 3. Spear walls. The Schiltron's deadly bristles. What meets the trapped English vanguard is not chaos. It is structure, discipline, precision. The Scots form schiltrons, dense, disciplined blocks of spearmen trained to stand shoulder to shoulder. Each man grips a 12-foot spear, iron-tipped and menacing. The points jut outward in every direction, like a forest of steel. From a distance, the formations resemble living barricades. Compact, unyielding, lethal. This is not a mob. This is a system designed to destroy cavalry, to bend numbers into a weapon, and to turn fear into control. Wallace and Moray deploy their schiltrons with careful calculation. Exits are sealed. Momentum is halted. Every step the English take funnels them deeper into the trap. There is no retreat. There is no flank. Only the spear walls, waiting patiently. The English knights charge. But the narrow, uneven ground robs them of speed. Horses collide with bristling spears. Mounts rear, scream, collapse. Riders are thrown into the crush. Armor rattles, Weapons clash. Men are dragged down, trampled, finished at close quarters. The precision and patience of the Scots makes every motion count. English infantry fares no better. Packed tightly between river and marsh, they cannot form ranks or maneuver. Welsh archers, often decisive, cannot draw their bows effectively. The lines are too cramped. Arrows fall harmlessly, blocked by friend and foe alike. Confusion spreads through the English ranks like wildfire. Panic spreads faster than any command. At the center of the chaos, Hugh de Cressingham falls. Pierced, struck down, his body is mutilated by the enraged Scots, a brutal reflection of years of resentment. Not mere violence, but vengeance for oppression, taxation, and occupation. The fall of the treasurer becomes emblematic, a warning to all who enforce foreign rule in Scotland. The Scots press forward relentlessly. Axes rise and fall. Daggers find gaps in armor. The spear walls advance step by step, compressing the English toward the river. Men stumble, slip, and are dragged into the cold, unforgiving waters. Horses, men, and weapons churn together in a mass of chaos. And then the bridge fails. Whether burned or collapsed from the weight of thousands, it ceases to function. Escape is impossible. The trap is complete. The English army is now a collection of isolated pockets, trapped in a deadly corridor, unable to coordinate or retreat. From the southern bank, Surrey can only watch in disbelief. His orders come too late. His army is split. His knights and infantry are cut down or captured. Retreat is disorderly, chaotic, and humiliating. What was meant to be a show of English dominance has turned into a catastrophe. Casualty numbers are staggering. Thousands of English soldiers are killed or captured. Scottish losses are light, remarkable for a medieval battle. An outnumbered, poorly equipped force has annihilated a professional army. Discipline, timing, and terrain have triumphed over numbers and steel. But Stirling Bridge is more than a victory on the battlefield. It proves that English domination is not inevitable. That infantry, properly led and positioned, can destroy cavalry. That terrain can defeat numbers. That resistance, even from the least expected sources, can succeed. News of the victory spreads across Britain like wildfire. Rebellion ignites in towns and villages. William Wallace emerges not just as a commander, but as a symbol, a beacon of defiance, a figure who embodies possibility, a man who demonstrates that a kingdom will not vanish quietly under foreign rule. The fire of freedom has been lit. The echoes of Stirling Bridge will resound for generations. Medieval warfare has been irrevocably changed. Spears and discipline have bested armor and numbers. Courage and cunning have toppled arrogance. And Scotland, for the first time in years, sees a glimmer of hope that it may yet be free. Part 4. Aftermath, humiliation, and Scotland's spark. The defeat at Stirling Bridge sends shockwaves through the English occupation. Surrey retreats south in disorder, abandoning all control north of the River Forth. Garrisons crumble or dissolve. Towns that had once bowed under foreign rule breathe freely for the first time in years. Scotland is, briefly, unshackled. In the aftermath, William Wallace is knighted. He is appointed Guardian of Scotland, ruling in the name of the exiled King John Balliol. Beside him, though history often overlooks this, stands Andrew Moray, mortally wounded in the battle. His death comes soon after, depriving Scotland of one of its finest commanders. A loss that the world would long understate, yet one that tempers Wallace's leadership with a sense of urgency and gravity. Wallace does not wait for the English to recover. He carries the war south, leading daring raids into northern England. Supply lines are disrupted. Fortifications feel the sting of rebellion. Fear spreads across the border. It is bold. It is relentless. And it ensures one thing. Edward I will respond personally. And respond he does. In 1298, the English king returns, at the head of a reorganized and determined army. At Falkirk, the combination of archers, cavalry, and infantry breaks Wallace's formations. The Guardian resigns. Scotland's resistance fractures once more. The war is far from over. Yet Stirling Bridge cannot be undone. The battle permanently alters medieval warfare in Britain. It proves a simple truth. Disciplined infantry, fighting on chosen ground, can defeat the mightiest armored cavalry. The lesson resonates through history, echoing later at Bannockburn in 1314, where Robert the Bruce refines and perfects the same principles Wallace and Moray first demonstrated. Wallace himself does not live to see Scotland's eventual resurgence. Betrayed in 1305, he is captured, tried for treason against a king he never recognized, and executed in London. His death is meant to intimidate. Instead, it sparks a legend. He becomes a martyr, a symbol of defiance, and an enduring inspiration. Stirling Bridge becomes something larger than a battle. It is the first great triumph of the wars of Scottish independence. It transforms rebellion into belief. Morale surges, resistance hardens. The idea of a free Scotland takes root in hearts and minds. The bridge itself is gone, destroyed in the chaos of battle. Yet its lesson endures. At Stirling, arrogance is punished. Numbers are neutralized. Terrain becomes a weapon. Discipline and patience triumph over raw strength. It is a reminder that empires can stumble, that history does not bend to numbers alone, but to timing, courage, and the wisdom to wait for the right moment. The fire of Scottish freedom, once lit on a foggy September morning in 1297, will burn for generations. And long after the soldiers, the banners, and even the bridge are gone, its lesson remains. Strategy, discipline, and resolve can topple the strongest of empires. Part 5. Legacy: From Humiliation to Heroic Myth. The shadow of Stirling Bridge stretches far beyond the banks of the Forth. What began as a tactical victory on a foggy September morning in 1297 became something far larger, a cornerstone of Scottish identity, shaping memory as much as military history. In Scotland, William Wallace evolves from rebel commander into an enduring symbol. Over the centuries, poetry, folklore, and later popular culture elevate him into a personification of resistance. His story transcends fact and fiction. The modern image, immortalized most famously in Braveheart, may blur history, but its power is undeniable. Stirling Bridge becomes the moment when ordinary people, farmers and townsmen, defy imperial rule and prevail. England, meanwhile, absorbs the lesson with pragmatism. Stirling exposes the vulnerability of cavalry unsupported by flexible infantry and missile troops. In the decades that follow, English commanders refine combined arms tactics, integrating archers decisively and coordinating cavalry more carefully. These lessons will later define English success during campaigns of the 100 Years' War. Failure becomes instruction, and discipline becomes doctrine. Across Europe, the implications are subtle but profound. Stirling reinforces a growing understanding. Feudal elites are not invincible. Disciplined foot soldiers, properly positioned and led, can shatter mounted nobility. The battle adds to a gradual reshaping of medieval warfare and emboldens popular resistance against entrenched power. One small victory demonstrates that strategy, terrain, and cohesion can outmatch brute strength. Today, the legacy of Stirling Bridge is anchored in place. The National Wallace Monument rises from Abbey Craig, towering over the battlefield where patience, discipline, and terrain decided a nation's fate. Nearby, the crossing point, long since rebuilt, reimagined, and modernized, remains a physical reminder of how a narrow span once altered history forever. Stirling Bridge endures because its lesson is timeless. Numbers alone do not guarantee victory. Ground, timing, discipline, and leadership can overturn expectation. They can reshape the balance of power. It is not merely a Scottish victory. It is a lesson in strategy, a lesson in courage, a case study in how underdogs can triumph, when they understand the land beneath their feet, when they exploit patience, and when they seize the moment history presents. The battlefield may be centuries old, but the principles of Stirling Bridge remain alive. Discipline over chaos, terrain over arrogance, timing over numbers. And in that lesson, the story of Wallace and the Scots will echo for all time. Conclusion: Stirling Bridge, when history turned. Stirling Bridge was not just a battle. It was a moment when history paused and then turned. On a fog-choked September morning, beside the River Forth, an empire marched with confidence, certain that numbers and steel would decide the day. Instead, patience, terrain, and discipline wrote the outcome. A narrow bridge shattered a professional army. Spear walls broke the myth of cavalry's supremacy. Ordinary men, long dismissed as rebels, proved they could shape their own fate. The victory did not end the war. Scotland would bleed again. William Wallace would fall. Andrew Moray would be forgotten too quickly. Yet Stirling Bridge ignited something that could not be crushed: the belief that domination was not destiny. From that crossing flowed lessons that would echo across centuries. That terrain is a weapon, that leadership outweighs arrogance, that ordinary men, standing together, can humble the powerful. Today, the river still bends where the bridge once stood. The hills rise where soldiers waited, where spears bristled. The ground remembers. And every time history reminds us that the strong are not invincible, that the underdog can prevail, Stirling Bridge stands in the background, silent and patient, waiting, watching, teaching. Because on September 11th, 1297, Scotland did more than win a battle. It taught the world how empires fall, one narrow crossing at a time. And it reminds us still, history is never inevitable. Strategy, Courage and the right moment can overturn even the mightiest of powers. If you enjoyed this deep dive into medieval warfare and rebellion, make sure to subscribe for more battles that shaped our world. And remember, history belongs to those who seize it.